Hello everyone. Welcome to the Triple R Performance Space for this special live in conversation event with Lydia Lunch.
Happy to be here, yes, happy to be here.
This is on 102.7 FM and at rrr.org.au and in front of Triple R subscribers. My name's Elizabeth McCarthy and I wanted to start by first acknowledging the traditional owners of the land that we're on today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and also my respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who might be joining us here today or else listening on their radio or device. Lydia Lunch's career creating music, films, books, spoken word and poetry spans 40 years. From the late 70s, she's made and or appeared on over 50 albums. She's acted in and or collaborated on around 30 films. She's written books, plays, performed her music and spoken word all over the world and hosted self-empowerment workshops for women. She's never stopped working or creating art and she's in Melbourne this week performing last night at the Old Bar and tonight and tomorrow night at the Tote with her band Lydia Lunch, Retrovirus. It's my huge pleasure to talk to her today here in the Triple R Performance Space. Please put your hands together again for Lydia Lunch.
You don't really have to do that.
Please do it. So the language could be a bit salty over the next hour, so if you don't like that, turn the radio down, but if you do like it, you're very welcome to turn it up even louder.
Look, who doesn't want my tongue in their ear? You can leave now.
Now, Lydia, we just heard the track Dead Me, You Beside, which was on the Eight-Eyed Spy record many, many years ago. Let's talk about Retrovirus because you've got guitarist Weasel Walter in the band and here with us today. You've got drummer Bob Burt, you've got Tim Dahl on bass. These guys are really seasoned musicians. So what do you like about the way that they reinterpret your songs?
First of all, a lot of this material was never even done live. I mean, that song might have been, but you know, having a 40-year musical schizophrenic career, it's just nice to have people that understand the music and that are actually more professional than we were at the origin of it, to bring new life to this material and to bring it to new audiences. I mean, it's exciting for me because, like I said, a lot of the material is just never done live.
Mm-hmm. And Urge to Kill is the record that came out a couple of years ago, which is Lydia Lunch, Retrovirus. I think it's got 9 tracks on it.
I have no fucking idea. Excuse me, Weasel, how many tracks?
How did you know which ones to pick, though?
Weasel
your
selected
massive...
most of them.
Oh, really?
You know.
Weasel's like your collaborator and super fan, isn't he?
Call him what you will. He's released like 5 times as many albums as I have, so...
You've collaborated with so many people in your career, from filmmakers like Vivian Dick, Beth B and Scott B.
Nobody knows who those are, but that's fine.
But also
Richard
musicians, like...
I'm sure people know who that is.
Yes.
Right.
Musicians like Kim Gordon, Thurston Moore, Rollin S. Howard, Nick Cave, to Henry Rollins and the writer Hubert Selby Jr. To name just a few. Besides the musicians that you're currently working with, which collaborators over the years have you found the most interesting to collaborate with?
First of all, the concept comes first, or should I say the concept. So the way that I work is if I have an idea for a genre I want to attack, reinvent, pervert, the concept always comes first, and then who best suits that project. So I never sit here and go, who do I want to work with? Because I couldn't tell you somebody I wanted to work with next, unless I had the concept first. So whoever really suits the ideal that I'm trying to conceive is who then I try to sucker into my concept. So far, it's been pretty successful.
Who have been the most interesting people to work with?
Well, all of them.
40, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to tell you who was the least interesting because that'd be so unfeminist.
So you don't want to name who was the most interesting.
They're all extremely interesting, and they all bring something completely different. You know, to me, it's like when I'm collaborating with people, it's like it's a marriage that could exist nowhere else but there. So I try to give people the ultimate freedom to bring something they haven't done before or whatever they have perfected to illustrate what I'm trying to achieve. So I can't say one was better than the other because I'm quite happy with all of the projects I've done. I mean, every single person I've worked with has been amazing.
Lydia, you've worked with Retrovirus now for like about, is it 5 or 6 years, which is a long time for you to work with the same group of people, because you have...
Well, because, let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Forget, you don't even have to finish the question. Why should she? Most of my other concepts, they were a concept for a certain genre that I would document and perhaps tour, not always. That I was able to document on vinyl or CD. All that I've done is only because I've been extremely stubborn, and it's a miracle that I even was able to get these things manufactured. Now I don't give a shit about manufacturing stuff. That's what Bandcamp is for, and so much is online. We basically now manufacture just for the merchandise table. Like, I work with 1 or 2 small labels in Italy and Spain. Nobody in America, because nobody cares. So, what was the question? Oh yeah, Retrovirus.
Yeah, Retrovirus.
Well, because we can keep changing the set, because it is a retrospective. It's not as if it's a finite concept. Like, oh, I want to do swamp rock, therefore Roland S. Howard, or I want to do psychoambient, therefore any number of I've done a lot of psychoambient music as well with various collaborators. So because this is more of a retrospective, it has more life. But at the same time as Retrovirus, I'm doing, half a dozen other things, as is everybody in Retrovirus. I mean, I do Brutal Measures with Weasel Walter, which is drums and vocals. I have Cypress Grove, which is my blues band. I have Big Sexy Noise, which is James Johnston and Ian White of Cal and Drunk. So I have Medusa's Bed, which is a 3-piece female improv. So, I have to do the same way everybody else in the band has to do a number of things just to satisfy their insanity. But Retrovirus is something unique. It's, first of all, the group we have a lot of fun. That's first and foremost. We like to rage. And we can keep reinventing the set. And I think that as opposed to just doing one of my concepts over and over again, this embodies a lot of different flavors of my concepts. So that's why it's had the longest shelf life. I don't know how much longer it'll go on, but we'll just see about that. It could be forever, and it could be ending after Hubert.
Let's go back to the beginning.
No, it won't, because we have another tour after that. So.
Okay.
But after that, who knows?
Let's go back to the beginning when you arrived in New York City as a teenager. You came from Rochester in New York and you went to New York City. Was that basically because it was the nearest city close by to you, or what attracted you to
The
New York
nearest city was Buffalo. Why would I go there? The New York Dolls. Mm-hmm. But that's when I first ran away to New York, in 1973, when I was 13 or 14. Mm-hmm. And then I knew I had to go get some money and come back. What attracted me was that's where it was happening. Anything to get out of my basement. I knew what I had to do. I thought I'd go there to do spoken word, but spoken word didn't really exist at that point. It was post-beat poetry, post-Patti Smith as she disintegrated into really bad rock and roll poetry, and it was pre-slam. And so I went there thinking to do spoken word, but I had to start a band. And it's interesting that the first band I started was semi-instrumental, Teenage Jesus.
It's really hard to pick your influences. Some musicians and artists you look at and you can see their influences.
I hate when you know their record collection. It's really
exactly. But with you, it's really hard to know. So the New York Dolls, obviously, and what else was?
They influenced my sex life more than anything, actually. Ladies, do you not like men that dress as ladies? Who doesn't? It's better than beards and a flannel shirt. I hate the new millennial look. Beards, please, you gotta go. Nobody wants. I don't want a beard in my bed. I do not want a beard in my bed. When I say beard, sometimes I have to have a beard, meaning, somebody to disguise who's really in my bed, but that's a different story. Because I'm an anti-traditionalist. No, there is no influence for something like Teenage Jesus. It was the opposition to everything. Although I was very influenced by the Stooges, Lou Reed's album Berlin, David Bowie. David Bowie was a huge influence on me. But, the only way that you can see that reference is by my own musical schizophrenia. And, because I was so untrained as a musician, Teenage Jesus had to be so extremely precise. And it actually, it was just a temper tantrum. But it had to be a precise temper tantrum because sloppiness just doesn't count for much in my book, which is bizarre because I'm not I don't even know a chord. I don't know a key. When you say there's a chord, I'm like, yeah, is it around your neck or mine? A key, I have no idea what you're talking about. That opens a door. Musical scales, it's like fish scales mean as much to me as a musical scale. I'm a completely automatic, instant, I'm an idiot savant. I've got no idea about anything. I have no idea about music whatsoever except what I don't want it to sound like.
What about lyrically? What writers were influencing your lyrics?
Well, I mean, I was more influenced by writers than I was by musicians. I was influenced by de Sade, by Miller, by Genet, by Hubert Selby, by Foucault. I mean, by, E.M. Ciron. I was much more influenced by literature, which is hence why I still think of myself as, a spoken word artist. And, but most of all, a no-wave artist, which means, in case you don't know what no-wave is, audience unfriendly, dissonant. You can't hum along to it. Pretty much no win. You don't win. Everybody else loses when they have to hear it. Yeah. Torture chamber music. Some people do chamber music. I do torture chamber music. What would it sound like if you were being tortured? Probably na 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 na. That would be Teenage Jesus.
Hubert Selby Jr. was someone who you collaborated with.
Pardon me?
Hubert Selby Jr. was someone you collaborated with, you worked with. He also wrote the intro to Paradoxia, your fictionalised memoir.
It's not fictionalised. There's not a bit of fiction in there, my friend.
When I bought it in 1997, it was promoted as fictionalised memoir.
Well, it wasn't that easy on your psyche.
So what was it like to work with Selby? Because he wrote a couple of the greatest books of the 20th century.
He wrote 4 of the greatest books of yes, he was one of the greatest. And in Death, No Glory Still. And Requiem for a Dream, which is a great film based on one of his most heartbreaking books. Well, I tracked him down. Selby, I think, was an accountant at the time. Nobody cared about what he was doing. I think the first time he ever got paid was when Henry Rollins and I decided to take him on tour. Writers don't get paid for reading their stories. And, the beautiful thing about Hubert Selby is he was almost dead at 15. He had tuberculosis. He joined the Merchant Marines. He wrote Last Exit to Brooklyn 2 times, 7 years it took him. His last book took him 16 years. The work was important to him, and you can call it fictionalized reality, but basically it was based on reality. And just the fact that he persevered and to no great success in life nor death, he was really a pillar that kept me unjaded throughout my entire career, because it's like, here's my hero, he's a fucking accountant. Not doing any readings, nobody knows and nobody cares. How dare you? How dare you? And so it was amazing that he said yes, he would go on tour, and that yes, he would write an inch. My favorite thing was he said to me once, "You're rotten, kid." I'm like, that is the highest compliment I've ever had. I'm rotten according to Hubert Selby? I'm like, damn, I'm doing something right. I don't know what he saw in me, but the interesting thing about working with older guys like that, or like Nick Tosh's, who I interviewed, or various other writers, is it doesn't matter how old I was. They always look at me like I'm 17 years old, but then when they realize I'm a dirtier, older man than they are, then they get it. Like, oh, God damn, she's even worse than I am. I'm like, I could have told you, Cubby. That was his nickname.
In the 80s, Lydia, your work seemed to really shift, particularly your spoken word. It really shifted to being more overtly political, where you were calling out political systems, politicians. You were talking more about how the political system is sewn up to benefit few and punish most.
Has anything changed?
Yeah, well, I was wondering if your perspective has changed at all, and what to share
Actually, my first spoken word was highly personal. My first spoken word piece was called Daddy Dearest. So way before the #MeToo movement, I was admitting stuff that a lot of other people had gone through. So, I started right off with that, because to me, I've always in spoken word attacked that unholy trilogy, the father of our country, and God the Father, all fuckers in my opinion. So that was always my target of what I was speaking about. So it always went from the interpersonal to the political, which to me is still all about getting fucked.
Do things in America seem to you more crazier and corrupt?
Oh, I love it. It's insane. Are you kidding me? It's so ridiculous.
Do you think
ridiculous.
It's just, right.
The kleptocrats are in. It's just outrageous. the dictators are in. This is what I've been talking about for 32 years, since Ronald Reagan. I'm quite proud of the fact that America has become so incredibly vulgar and obscene because it can't get any worse. And I've always been the anti-American. I've always been the one there, like the woman on the mountain with a bullhorn, preferably a shotgun, maybe a dog. I don't even like dogs. Screaming out about what, I'm like the town crier. And here it is, exactly what I've been talking about. I love it. I love the apocalypse. I do. I moved back to America because of this. I was in Spain for 8 years, happily avoiding fascism until it really went fascist. And I'm like, I got to get a piece of that. Like, who else is going to talk sense?
Well, could you talk about living in Barcelona for 8 years and the impact that it had on your work?
Well, Bush stole the second election, and I'm like everyone else was going to leave. I think I'm the only one that did leave. I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm going to a place that's 30 years out of fascism. Plus, I do most of my performances in Europe. It made sense. Yeah, it was great to live in Barcelona. It was one of the best cities in the world at that time.
Your work in film is also really extensive from the late 70s onward.
Well, it hasn't been that extensive recently.
Well, no, but compared to now, the late 70s was a time when independent filmmaking was a lot more costly and the means of production weren't so readily available. But that kind of resourcefulness really characterises your career.
Well, the filmmakers asked me to be in their films. Some of the films were, financed by drug money. How else are you going to raise funds? Well, that's Richard Karn. The others, I think, had rich mommies or daddies or got art grants. I have no idea.
Right. Are you still interested in making films?
Yes.
Because it's been a few years.
Well, I have a screenplay that I'm trying to get produced, which is basically kind of the parallel to Paradoxia. I don't write fiction. I have written maybe 3 fiction stories. So it's a true story about my life, slightly fictionalized, starting during the blackout of 77. But I'm interested in getting that made.
Yeah.
Just because, there's so many gonzo films about, men's absurdity. There's very few films about women's hardcore reality. And I think it's needed to just show how somebody really goes into the deep end and comes out wiping the shit off their heels and smiling, alive while others have died.
Well, let's talk about those self-empowerment workshops for women.
Well, you call them self-empowerment workshops. They empower women only because I do workshops which are called From the Page to the Stage. I think women need to have covens. We need to have some place we can create that women's voices need to come to the stage. A lot of women write, and my workshop is basically, all right, so you write, now how do you just perform it? Simple, basic, elemental stuff, just to get your balls up into your hand and out your mouth. So, and I hope to come here next year and do some of these workshops, because we need more women's voices on stage. You may only speak at a funeral, but you should at least know how to speak if you have to attend a funeral. Not that I go to funerals, because unless I'm presiding over them.
Because your confidence is something that just seems to have been with you from the get-go. There's never been
cocky.
There's never been anything shy about you at all.
Why?
Why?
Why should I be shy? I don't understand shy. There's a lot of human emotions I don't comprehend that I've actually had to read articles about. Shyness is... You may laugh, but this is true. Shame, don't know, had to read articles about it. Disgust, I had to read a whole book about it. These are things that afflict all of my friends. Insecurity, I don't know, maybe, so many self-help books. If you're not your biggest fan, who is going to be your biggest fan? You're all you have. I don't get it. I don't get it. And if your parents didn't love you enough, I didn't love my parents enough. How about that? I rejected them. It's like, oh, Daddy, you love me too much. Get the fuck away. Get your hands off me. I just don't get it. I don't know how people get their self-esteem beaten out of them. This is why families are wrong. This is why the nuclear family is a very bad place to be. It's just the microcosm of the fascist society. It's like there's, nobody teaches anybody how to be a parent, yet everybody has kids. Stop it. Stop it. Free vasectomies to all my friends and enemies. I don't get it. Who is going to love you? Who's going to love me more than I love myself? Oh, please get in line. It's not a challenge because you won't live up to it. I'm not kidding.
So at these workshops for women, is the thing that's holding them back the most their shyness and their...
It's themselves.
Yeah.
Who's holding anybody back? Where are the restraints? Maybe if I tied you up and put you in a closet for a few hours, you'd know what really being, hogtied was all about. Oh, you're only holding yourself back. There's nothing. Look, you want to do something, you do it. I don't understand what's preventing anybody. I don't get it.
Did you?
I mean, first of all, where's the failure? What is success? I didn't start out doing what I do thinking that there was going to be success or failure. I started out doing what I had to do because I had to do it. So maybe if you don't need to do it, you shouldn't do it. But if you need to do it because it's burning inside you, then you do it. Somebody likes it or not. What, are you doing it for somebody else or are you doing it for yourself? I don't get it. I mean, you're here right now, but trust me, I'd be saying the same thing whether you were here or not. Not that you're meaningless to me, but basically, yeah, you are. I love you as I do, as much as I can, when I have love spared over.
So what would you say to young female emerging artists?
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
I'd say, if you want my advice, go into medicine, chemistry. We need better drugs. We don't need more art. We need more drugs, better drugs. We need better architecture. We need healthcare services. We need politicians. We do not need more female or male artists. But if it's burning in your blood and you have to do it, then you will find a way to do it. And if you don't, you're weak. So stop it. Grow some balls, ladies. And you don't necessarily have to cut off men's balls to get there because, face it, I've worked with a lot of men and they all have pretty big balls. Still. Miraculously enough. Weasel.
Let's
Just saying.
Let's talk about your archive a bit because it's massive. Where is it and where can people view it? And are there plans for...
Well, they can buy it. First of all, if they want to view it, they can buy it. I'm here to try to sell it. Yeah. I own everything I've ever done. I have my complete archives articulated. I'm looking to sell it. I would like somebody to digitize, everything. I would like to have a digital museum where people could just go, okay, like 1992 spoken word or 1985 music. So I'm looking for some place to place it. But, I've gathered this all up. It took years. I can't believe how much stuff I have, and I hope somebody will actually buy it and then put it where everybody can view it for free. I mean, no profit margin in this, of course, unless a museum wants to buy it. That's what I'm hoping for, but I don't want people to have to pay for it.
What kind of stuff is in there?
Everything. There are posters, there are handbills, there are manuscripts, there is correspondences, there are live performances nobody's ever seen, there are the recordings of everything I've ever done. I mean, basically everything I've done for 40 years is in there. Who can handle that mess? Probably, check back in 20 years, we'll see if it's sold. I'm not sure.
What about Beth B, who's making the documentary about your life? What stage is that
at? People have asked me for years to make it. I've been in many other documentaries. I'm like, I'm not dead. Why do we need a documentary? I'm still working here. Why do we need a fucking documentary? But since I love you. Since I worked with Beth, I worked with Beth on many different projects. And Beth B was one of the original, pre-no wave filmmakers in the late 70s, New York, and also a visual artist and worked for Court TV and has done all kinds of different art and has as much energy as I understands what I do. So we decided to start making this documentary. But I mean, the problem with it for me is, I don't know if anybody knows Andy Warhol's film Sleep. It's 24 hours of one man sleeping, the most boring thing you've ever seen. I thought we should do 48. I think we should do a film called 48 Hours, which is my documentary, instead of like 1 hour when you're trying to squeeze 43 years into it. It's not going to happen. We're trying to condense 40 years of what I've done into an hour and a half. Good luck, Beth B. She loves to be tortured by herself.
But you've been the documentarian of your own life, pretty much.
Exactly. So why does somebody else have to do it? I mean, it's all right there. I mean, what have I left out? I don't get it. Oh, I've left out other people's opinion of what I do. It's kind of ridiculous. Like I care. Oh, thanks for saying those nice things about me. It means so much to me that you think you know what I am. Thanks, pal.
Okay, we might go to a track now. You are listening to Lydia Lunch live in conversation here at 3RRR FM, and we're going to hear a track, Nothing But Trouble, from the EP Champagne, Cocaine.
I don't know why, but here we go.
And Nicotine Stains. Could you tell us a bit about the Anubian Lights and this outfit?
Well, it was another short-term project. It was just a project I did when I was in L.A. This was from an EP, and we did an album called Smoke in the Shadows. It's, one of my jazz noir phases. This is kind of a happy, upbeat song, Nothing But Trouble. I didn't choose this, but go ahead and play it. I'll interrupt it when I'm done with it.
Thanks, Brad. We'll be back in a moment. That's right, we're back with Lydia Lunch, live in conversation here in the Triple R performance space. I wanted to mention that Lydia is actually playing live for the next 5 nights. She's doing tonight and tomorrow at the Tote. There are still some tickets available for those shows. With Retrovirus. Then she's at Goma in Brisbane on the 15th.
With Retrovirus.
She's at Dark Mofo with...
Brutal Measures and Retrovirus.
That's right, on the 16th. And then the Oxford Art Factory in Sydney.
With Retrovirus.
Very good. So you might be listening live to us at rrr.org.au or I think we're Facebook living it or something like that. Welcome. And Lydia.
Yes, sir.
Where should we go next? Let's talk about your memoir, Paradoxia, because when I read that 20 years ago, I was
12.
I was
all 12-year-old women should girls.
Very flattering. No, I wasn't 12, but I was blown away by your relentless appetites that you describe in that book, but in the last...
Imagine what I left out. Can you only imagine what I can't remember?
But the last few pages of the book, you wrote about being concerned about your appetites and that they were controlling you rather than you controlling them.
Well, when you're a glutton, I mean, you can only go so far before you have to pull it back. Otherwise, because when you're a glutton, you'll never be satisfied. So what do you do when you've reached the zenith, the end of the road of gluttony? You better pull it way back. And you better understand that you're just consuming for this vacancy you have, which can only be filled by yourself. That's the whole point of the book, is like you're consuming. Basically, I was an adrenal junkie, so as much drugs or sex or alcohol I might have consumed, it was basically adrenaline I was after, and I have a lot of adrenaline. So you can continue to consume until you vomit literally your soul up, and then what do? Then you better realize nothing is filling that vacancy. So you better fill it with yourself. And when you do fill it with yourself, first of all, you're going to be more satisfied with everything you imbibe in, and you're going to be more satisfying. You're going to be more satisfying, and you're going to be more satisfied. So it's just understanding whatever your addiction is. My addiction happened to be to adrenaline, which meant any number of, let's say, hundreds, to understate it, of promiscuous adventures, with or without drugs and alcohol. Yeah, I love my life. And it's so much better to be addicted to adrenaline than heroin. Boring. I did it twice. That was enough. I don't want to go down. I want to go up. Yeah.
So you're in control of those appetites now, like you can...
Oh, I didn't say I control myself now. Actually, I've just finessed. I'm sophisticated. I mean, now I'm so elite in my desires that, I mean, half the time I don't even fucking bother because, like, oh, excuse me, here's the criteria, I'll do it myself, thank you very much. Next. Or not even next. I've just so sophisticated my taste. So, you can eat junk food or you can eat, like, I don't want to say human flesh, but I didn't really... Whatever.
Do you have plans for another memoir? Because it's been a while since you wrote that one. Or do you want to write another memoir?
You really need to know more about me.
I think it would be interesting to know what's happened in the last 21 years.
Well, look, I have an essay book coming out next year, and that's essays. To update my memoirs, no, because actually, look, what I've based my career on talking about is frustration, anger, hatred, the dystopia. Why would I write a memoir about my satisfaction, happiness? That's just, all right, the Nihilist Handbook. How to overcome being a nihilist, I might write that, but I'm not going to reveal the secrets to my glorious existence. It's like, people don't need to know about that. They need to somebody needs to express the darker obsessions and the sickness we have, which I think I've explained completely adequately in all of my music and in my books. And I don't think I really need to reveal. I have to hold, not that I need to hold anything private to myself, but no, I don't think I need to do a follow-up memoir.
What about the dailiness of, like Henry Rollins has documented the dailiness of his,
he's tedious.
Being a musician and an artist. Would you ever?
Van? Really? Who wants to hear that shit? Don't you want to hear about like the Arab shop boy that I, whatever, 14-year-old Puerto Rican? I mean, who wants to hear about getting in the van? That's for like boys who are like 14 years old. That's good for them.
Okay, there's going to be no more books. Now,
I didn't say there's not going to be any more books. That's wrong. I just said I have an essay book coming out in a few months. So it's not that there's not going to be any more books. I just don't need to write the follow-up to my memoir.
We're going to have some audience questions
Can't wait.
now.
And trust me, I might ask you questions as well. So be bold, be brave, turn the lights on.
We've got a roving mic.
I want to see the look in their eyes.
We've got a roving mic, and we'd love to have some questions.
Don't be shy.
Linda, I know you've got one. Yes, Linda, up
stand
the
up
front
and
here.
be bold.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, Lydia. I saw you last night at the old bar. Everyone who wasn't at the old bar, like, sucked in. You missed out. It was fucking amazing.
Thank you very much.
And it was you and Weasel doing spoken word and drums. I was there with my my boyfriend who's being diagnosed as bipolar many years ago.
So you could relate to a lot of what I was saying.
Yeah, and he actually said to me, to ask you this, and, we agree and disagree about being medicated, not being medicated, and I was just wondering what because you said that line last night, take your meds, and
Thank you for hearing that.
There was a lot of vitriol in the way you delivered that, and I was just wondering what your opinion on that is.
The thing is, if you can find the meds you need to take, fucking take your meds. Don't resist them. And there are certain conditions that meds can correct. People self-medicate, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Don't resist taking meds that might actually help you, especially if you're bipolar or manic depressive or suicidal. Take your meds. Yeah, there is vitriol in that, because a lot of people I know that should be on meds resist it because they think it's going to it's going to stifle their creativity. You know what it's going to do? Stop making you nagging to all your friends about what a miserable cunt you are. Take your meds.
Do you think being a performer can somehow be a salve?
No, because most of the performers I know are miserable cunts.
Yeah. Okay.
Who need to take their meds.
Okay.
And some do, and they're much better for it. I mean, performance is one part of it. There's no catharsis. You still have the disease. You still have the infection. You still are riddled with the problems. Just because I voice them, performing is not what's ultimately helping me get over my problems. It's working on myself that's helping me. Now, I never had to be on normal medication because I know how to self-medicate. But if I felt it would improve my daily condition, I deal with a lot of negative subjects, but I am not negative in my daily life because I love the apocalypse. I do. And I deal with a lot of heavy shit. But at night, when night rolls around, I'm sorry, I'm going to have a good time and I'm going to have fun. I insist on it because to me, pleasure is the ultimate rebellion. But when you're in a miserable state, you can't even feel pleasure. So go get on something that's going to you're cheating yourself if you're miserable all the time. I'm sorry, I'm not going to cheat myself. I'm already being ripped off left, right, and center. I'm not going to rip myself off. So whatever it takes to get you to a point that you're not miserable. We know this situation sucks. We're all poor. The world is coming to an end, not soon enough. All right? Politicians suck. There is inequality everywhere. There's racism, classism, sexism. But you know what? Night rolls around. Fuck all of that. I'm going to have a good time. And if you're still miserable at night because you just have a chemical imbalance, don't self-medicate. It's not going to work. Go to the doctor. Get on the right. And it might take you 4 or 5 or 6, 10 different drugs. But there is, except for highly unfunctional schizophrenics, paranoid schizophrenics, there are drugs that will work. And it's not alcohol and heroin. Well, for me, it might be cocaine and alcohol, but that's just me. Only kidding. Only kidding. Not really.
Yep, we've got a hand up down there.
I'm not miserable.
From where I'm sitting, I can see that you've got a tattoo, and I wonder if there's more of them. If you'd tell us the story of how you chose that design.
Well, it's an octopus.
It
Like myself, like Kali has 8 arms, an octopus has 8 tentacles. That's about all I need to say about that. Yes, I have more tattoos, and I'm not showing you or telling you about them. My personal repertoire of history.
So, Lydia, you have faith in the medical system, it seems. Is that...
Not the American medical system, but I have faith in some medical systems.
I was just wondering if that's the only part of like the establishment that you think is okay.
I don't even think that that's okay for the most part. Like the opioid addiction, that's really, rife in America. This is not what people need to be on. There are other medications that are not. I mean, the only reason they prescribe opioids is to get you addicted, so you'll be forever indebted and addicted. So, but yes, the establishment. What do you mean? I think healthcare can work. You have it in this country. We don't have it in America. Use it for what it's there for. Try everything to make yourself feel better. There's also meditation and acupuncture and yoga and eat right and, try to reverse the... Well, the thing is, your food is good in this country and there's not so much pollution, so you're not as damaged as we are genetically coming out of the womb in America. Not saying you're any healthier, but... I've done yoga for years. I do meditate, but, people don't... You have to understand, even 10 minutes a minute... What was meditate? You know what meditation is? Clear your head of all the bullshit that's driving you nuts. Shut up. I love to sit alone in a room by myself saying nothing. 10 minutes a day will change your brain plasticity. It's not new age. It's actually the oldest thing on the fucking books. Water, meditation, respect your body. Well, at least masturbation is really good too as well. Actually, if you don't masturbate, you're really ripping yourself off. I try to do it daily, but sometimes twice a day, all right, I admit it. Feels good. Ladies, we can have a course in multiple ejaculation, but that's next year. You can shout it out. Oh, beyond. And thank you for saying that because, yes, I am. I'm not misogynist. I am misanthropic. I basically hate everybody equally. But I don't hate the individual. The thing is, I love individuals. Thank you very much. He's answered his question. What's to not hate in the general populace? What's to not love about the individual? I don't care how fucked up you are. You're an individual. I love you.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, I'll see you after this interview.
Yep. There's another question.
Can I stand up?
Stand up.
Cool. Hey, how's it going? I'm Triana.
Hi, Triana.
I just wanted to know, I was watching a lot of your interviews last night, and I feel like you always feel like you wish you were being asked things differently, or you wish things were I don't know, this is not particularly on this situation, but in general. I was just wondering, in terms of interviews, what's the way that you wish interviews would usually go like? What do you wish you would be asked?
No questions, all answers. It doesn't matter what the question is, ultimately. I'm going to say whatever I want to say. You could ask me how the weather is, and I'll just tell you about, I don't know, the war in East Timor or something. It doesn't matter.
There's another question down here before, too. You had your hand up.
Soon with Big Sexy Noise, and if you're going to come here?
No, I don't have plans to come with Big Sexy Noise, but maybe that's something good to come with next year when I come with my female empowerment workshops, as you call them. Yeah, I'm touring with Big Sexy Noise in Europe in August and November, so yes, we're back on the road. Thank you.
So where will these workshops happen next year? And
you're going to help me plan those, aren't you? Thank you. That's why we're advertising them now.
Yeah, this is a good room to run some, isn't it?
Right on this very stage.
Right here.
Exactly. You can sign up now, and then we'll have everybody we need.
Whereabouts do you base yourself these days?
Does that really matter?
Yeah, because you left went and lived in Barcelona.
I left Barcelona, and then I was nomadic for 4 years. Then I settled in Brooklyn for 1.5 years, but I don't know how long that's going to last. I only went back to New York to work with Retrovirus. I left New York in 1990 for good. It's not my favorite place to be. I'd be in Savannah, Georgia right now if I could. I don't care. I'm a nomad. I move every 2 to 4 years usually, so I don't know where I'll be, and I don't care. And it doesn't matter because I'll come here, so who cares? I prefer to be on the road. If I could have more shows, I'd have more shows.
Do we have any other questions from the audience at all? No more questions?
No. So that means you want me to ask you questions, right?
Oh shit, you're in trouble. No, I don't have to do that.
I'm not that curious, really.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Lydia.
A really good time.
So many people have been looking forward to this
I see them all.
conversation.
I'm amazed I'm amazed nobody works. Sarah, for the self-employed, yeah. Excellent. Are you on the dole? I hope so. We don't have dole in America. We don't even have welfare anymore.
Thanks so much to our volunteers and support staff who have helped today, as well as our sponsors Mountain Goat Beer, and to our technology partners Avid and KV2 monitoring the sound for the performance space here. And thanks to all the Triple R subscribers in the room today and those who are listening at home. We are, as you know, a publicly supported radio station. Our radiothon's coming
Send
up
those dollars in
August. And I'd really like you to give one more round of applause, please.
Well,
for
wait,
Lydia
before
Lunch.
you do that doesn't matter. There's still tickets available for tonight's show at the Tote. You don't get them, you missed out. Don't be ridiculous.
You can get
There's
online
still tickets.
and get those
Like
tickets.
60, and that's it. So in other words, half of you can come. All right, see ya. Thank you very much.
Thank you.